Hi, welcome to Think Human. I'm Chris, and in this video I want to talk about horoscopes and the psychology behind them. So you might know some people, or maybe might have been one of these people, or are this kind of people who might look at horoscopes and say like, wow, like this was quite accurate. Like, wow, this is crazy. Like you look at horoscopes sometime and like, damn, this is exactly what happened. And then you wonder like how this can be, but this is quite human nature, human psychology, that we tend to focus on the things, we look for patterns, we look at things that match. So you have a text that's like, let's say, 10 sentences long and 3 sentences apply to you. And then you focus on these 3 sentences. Wow, this is so accurate, exactly, when the rest of it didn't have really anything to do with it. But you're like, okay, like never mind that. You only take the 3 that were applicable to you. And we also make things match, even if they aren't really specifically talking about your life. They are so general that they could apply to you. And people, the way that horoscopes are written, make people put meaning into them. Like you can have a horoscope and it says, recently you have had big changes in your life. Like this could apply to everyone, anyone in the world. Like they can find some kind of big change that's happened, or like you are considering in the future of making a big decision. Like, of course, everyone is all the time. When you really think about it, everything that's written in these kind of things could apply to everyone. Not all the time. There are, some random things in there that can be like, different. But just for the sake of randomness, pretty much, it's not significant in any real way. But generally, they're written to apply to pretty much anyone, and people look for patterns in there and make it fit for themselves. There was an interesting experiment done by this cool sort of mentalist, psychology kind of magic trick guy called Darren Brown. And what he did, he wrote horoscopes. He wrote personalized horoscopes. Each was, I don't remember if it was 2 full pages or let's say at least 1 full page, very detailed description. He took a group of about 30 people and he asked them, their date of birth, like what's the exact date, and the names, and this is pretty much all he asked from them. And then he said, okay, wait for a little bit and I will write you a personalized horoscope and I'll get back to you in like a month. And so he meets with these people a month later and he gives all of them an envelope with these horoscopes in them, and people go into separate rooms to take their time and read it. And then later, a little bit later, when they're done reading it, like Darren Brown, the host who made the experiment, comes and asks them, so what did you think? Like, was it accurate? And like over 90% of people said, wow, like this is incredibly accurate. Like how do you even, like that's so crazy. Like this is spot on my life that you're describing. Like how did you know? This is like spooky, weird. So, yeah, and and then what happened a little bit after that, after he had a talk with everyone, he was like, okay, so take your horoscopes and switch them around. And people switched them around and they got confused. Oh, wait, I still have mine. Like, and they switched it around. Wait, this is still mine. And then they realized every single person in the group, all these 30 people got exactly the same horoscope written. And this is the exact proof that you can write it in a beautiful, interesting way, but the bottom line fundamentally is that people make it fit. And this host Darren Brown, he's a really brilliant guy. He knows how to write this kind of thing, and you can write really eloquently and make it so it sounds really specific, but it actually could apply to anyone. So this is how people make it fit. We look for patterns. We don't care about the things that don't apply to us. We only focus on the things that sort of fit, that we're looking out for. So this is kind of fundamental pattern. Some people are really susceptible to it. They're like really open. They want to believe this kind of stuff, and some people understand that it's it's just psychology. It's quite simple. If you're talking about physically horoscopes, there is no known mechanism of action. There is just no way that position of a planet on the moment that you're born could in any way significantly influence the way you're born. You have thousands of times more influence by the lighting in the room when you were born, or the moon, or the sun, or the people talking, or what noises and sounds are around you, than any planet that's like light hours away. Like we know all the forces in the world, like gravity, light, electromagnetic radiation, all of these things are accounted for. So like I'm not sure what the people talking about horoscopes are exactly claiming. Like, are they saying that there's some mystical, undiscovered force that's making this happen? If there is, that force doesn't do anything else except only change people's lives somehow. But it is strange because there is something really general to it, and again, nothing magical but psychological. And I was thinking about this recently, and more in terms of there probably is some difference because the earliest experiences in our lives, like the first months and the first years, have the deepest impact, arguably, on us and our development as infants. And so I'm sure it does make some kind of difference whether you're born in a cold winter or a hot summer or a rainy autumn or, spring where, birds are chirping and like whatever. Surely that has some kind of impact and influence. Maybe not huge, but I would say if there's any case for anything like horoscopes, that might be it in some kind of way. Also, something like this applies to names as well as what kind of star sign you're in or zodiac sign. Is that people? I remember I had this aunt, and she was really big into zodiac signs, and like. She told me quite often certain things like, oh, you're exactly like Gemini, because you did this thing or whatever. And like when people project this kind of things onto you, like that obviously influences your development. Same way as if you have a certain type of name, people already from the past, from culture, from movies, music, books, whatever, they have some kind of association with names. So it surely does change in some way. For some people less, for some people more, how what your actual name is influences how you grow up and develop as a human being. So that's also interesting. And to a more general extent, like what country you're from and what gender you're in, and of course all of that. So yeah, it's just some thoughts about that. So yeah, like what's the psychological sort of basis for horoscopes? Hope you got some interesting thought from it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas, interesting suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. So take care and all the best.